Donald Trump told CNN's Chris Cuomo this morning that the United States will never, ever default on its debt because the government, they can just print more money. Listen.
People said, I want to go and buy debt and default on debt. And I mean, these people are crazy. This is the United States government. First of all, you never have to default because you print the money. I hate to tell you, okay? So there's never a default.
I don't know what class that is at the Wharton School of Business, but I'm not quite sure that just printing money out whenever we need to pay debt is going to actually work, which is why I'm very glad one of my favorite people on any economic issue, Dan Mitchell, senior fellow at the Cato Institute, he joins me to have some more serious perspective on this. Dan, good to see you. I appreciate you joining us. I know you're traveling right now. That's not really how it works, though. If we're, trillions of dollars in debt, we just can't print out trillions of dollars and take it to our creditors, take it to those whom we owe and say, all right, well, here, we're all paid up. It's all good, right? That's not really how that works.
Well, you can try doing that for a little while, but when people realize, the investors who buy government bonds, they realize that you're paying them back with dollars that are worth less and less each day, all of a sudden you're going to start having, you remember those high interest rates in the 1970s? Well, you don't, you're too young, but I remember them. Well, that would be, we'll go into Argentina and Zimbabwe type territory if Trump actually goes through with that kind of crazy plan. So originally he said he was going to pay off the debt in 8 years. Then he said we could default. Now he says we're going to run the printing presses and turn ourselves into Zimbabwe. I'm not sure which of those three positions is more crazy. Right,
because the other proposal that he had was, well, we can just, and this was via CNN, just give creditors less than what is owed, which that sounds like you're filing like Chapter 13.
Well, that's exactly what we've seen in Greece. That's what we saw in Italy and Spain. That's what they're doing in Puerto Rico right now. When you restructure debts, it means you're defaulting. And so whether Trump actually understands that, and he should, because he stiffed bondholders on some of his projects before, but I can't believe he would talk about doing it for the United States of America.
Well, I mean, you mentioned very briefly, you mentioned Venezuela, you mentioned Argentina, and we've seen their economies in a downward spiral. You mentioned Greece, but that could have not just massive implications for the United States, but also negative effects around the world because, the value of our dollar is affecting everyone else.
So many people around the world hold U.S. government bonds as a so-called safe asset. Now, maybe they shouldn't do that, but insurance companies, pension funds, foreign central banks, being the world's reserve currency is a responsibility. And if we do something really just crazy just because Trump wakes up on the wrong side of the bed one day, the economic consequences would be significant. But here's the challenge. Nobody actually believes that Trump thinks anything on these issues. It's just a stream of consciousness from one day to the next. Is he for tax increases? Is he against them? Is he for more spending? Is he against more spending? Is he in favor of default or is he not in favor of default? So I guess we just roll the dice any given day and try to predict what he's going to think or say.
Or the minimum wage. He parted with the Republican Party saying that he supports now the mandatory minimum wage increase, which I'm not quite sure how we can bring back jobs, as it's often put by candidates, while at the same time we're pricing businesses out of doing business.
And, of course, he's also backtracked on his tax plan, which, of course, anybody who looked at it in the first place knew he wasn't serious because he had a $10 trillion plus tax cut plan, which, okay, that sounds great to me. I'm a libertarian. But he had zero proposals to rein in big government. He wasn't doing anything to bend down the cost curve of government spending. And at some point, those two things, they don't have to match up exactly. You don't need a balanced budget any given year, but you can't have a giant tax cut while also having a Hillary-style spending program.
Right. And oh gosh, I can just see the financial disaster that would get us in. Dan Mitchell, senior fellow at the Cato Institute. Dan, safe travels. Thank you for joining us.